The language of leadership is not just verbal. How do you think and act like a leader? Dr. Canute Thompson, lecturer, author, and co-founder of the Caribbean Leadership Reimagination Initiative, CLRI, is back to tell us more. I'm Kalila Reynolds, and it's time for another episode of Money Moves, JA, brought to you in partnership with EXIM Bank's Business Advisory Service, giving you the tools to grow your business. And make sure you watch this video to the end because I have a giveaway. So we've covered respect, motivation.
Yes.
What was the first
Modeling.
one?
Modeling was the first.
Do we have some more?
All right. So we have some more.
How many of them in total?
All right. I'll tell you three more.
Okay,
all right.
Three more. That's good.
So I want to describe this first one as it's articulated in my book, Reimagining Education Leadership, Proposition MRM, Modeling Respect Motivation, and I suggest that might I say, that tripartite, that three-part approach to leadership encompasses the foundation of effective leadership. There are three other important leadership pieces, or might I say, elements in effective leadership, particularly for entrepreneurs. And these are the kinds of things that make for an effective entrepreneur. So those first three qualities I described indicate what is expected of leaders generally, and therefore including persons who are leading small organizations, small businesses.
Or you could be in politics.
Or in politics.
Or leading an organization, a non-profit.
Precisely. Leading at the community level.
A trade union.
A trade union, yes.
Level.
So the fourth element is what I call alternatives thinking. Alternatives thinking.
Alternatives thinking.
Yes. So we have been led in many cases to believe that there are no solutions to problems we face. Even at the global geopolitical level. You might recall there was a time when Margaret Thatcher from the UK and Ronald Reagan ran the world. They promoted what was called a kind of neoliberal agenda, which basically said that there was only one way of enabling developing countries to succeed. All right. In fact, there is an acronym emerged out of that time called TINA. There is no alternative. All right. So they began this idea about low taxes, removing cutting back on social services, giving the business sector freedom to do whatever they want. They describe that as the only viable path to economic success. And you will see a small organization where the management has decided that they need to solve a problem and there's only one way to do it. Alternatives thinking as a mode of leadership, as a language of leadership, posits that there are, in fact, other ways. And so the entrepreneur, the leader, is expected to invest in creating the processes and the opportunities to hear from members of staff, hear from team members, hear from citizens, in the case of a country, what are some of the other ways through which we can solve the problems we face, all right? And you'll find that when we bring people into this space, useful ideas are generated. All right? So that's the fourth element.
It ties in with respect that you were
absolutely,
talking about earlier.
because the willingness now to listen to those alternatives is rooted in the respect that you show. All right? The fifth is what I call courage. Courage. Think about great world leaders, and you'll see that one of the qualities that they each possess is that they were fearless to varying degrees. But courage and leadership go hand in hand, because remember, a leader is going to be solving problems, opening new horizons, pushing back against opposition, and contending with even sometimes internal forces that would undermine the effort of the organization. So having that courage to go where others have not gone, and this is also connected to alternative thinking, because when you conceive of some alternatives, going that path may require a level of toughness and determination and perseverance that, might I say, ordinary thinking, ordinary people do not have. So courage is connected to the willingness to pursue alternatives.
Yes.
And
I'm reading Obama's book now.
Yes.
When you speak about famous world leaders.
Yes, yes.
His latest book, and he speaks so much about needing the courage to do. Because he came about when he was elected during the recession, 2008, Precisely. A very, very difficult time. So that took a lot of courage to start leading the country and even the world out of that period to do what was necessary.
Indeed, yes. And he had to take some tough decisions.
Very tough decisions.
And one of the things that he...
stand up to opposition.
Precisely,
even
precisely.
Like you said, within your own quarters.
Indeed. We hardly produce spectacular results when there are no opposing forces. You know, my mom taught me something, I read it somewhere, but these days whenever I think of something that is inspiring, it's either my mom or I read it somewhere. But the saying is that a bird rises against the strong headwind, not only in spite of the wind, but because of the wind. So an opposing force can become a lifting force if faced from the right angle. Right. And in my next life, I'm going to be a pilot. I love flying, and I always take a note of what's taking place. Before 9/11, you could, if you're in a small plane, even big planes, you could, if you sit in first class, you could see into the cockpit, so you could always see what the pilots are doing. But what I find interesting is that the plane takes off against the wind because it requires the opposing force of the wind in order to lift.
Interesting.
Yes.
I never even knew that.
Yes. So if the plane is taking off in the direction opposite from which the wind is blowing, then it requires far more natural or mechanical energy. So look for that. Look for the direction of that orange bag on the left or right of the runway. You'll see the bag running this way because the wind is sending that way. So the plane goes against it in order to lift.
Interesting.
Yes.
Interesting. I love that.
Yes.
So number 6.
Number 6. It's the I word. I word. Influence.
Oh, not me. Not me myself.
I know. Not me myself. Influence. Great leaders, effective leaders, rely less on power and more on influence to produce results. First of all, you can't bully people into truly respecting you. They may fear you, but they don't respect you. You can't bully people into being contented about the organization or believing in the organization. You can't bully them into doing the right thing. You might succeed in getting them to comply for a time if you're watching. But the moment your back is turned, or the moment they can disconnect the camera or do some other thing, there goes. So it is through influence, which involves touching people's hearts and causing them to believe that we truly bring them into the sphere of what the organization is doing.
That sounds beautiful. How do you do that?
How do you do that? There are 3 ways to influence, I think. There might be 10, but I can think of 3.
Everybody wants to be an influencer these days, right? But real influence.
Real influence. And there are many influences, though. I mean, and some influence is for adverse purposes. A lot of people who turned up on the Capitol Hill last week were influenced to be there. They were not there by force. So influence is not always positive, but there are 3 ways in which we can influence people. The first is helping them to see the big cause, to see that large, which goes back to motivation, to see that larger agenda of which they are part. Yes? To help them to see how that big cause is contributing to making something that matters to them better or more within their reach. The second path to influence is to being able to communicate, finding the right time, the right space, the right language, to explain to people what is this bigger picture. They say that many organizations or many projects fail, not because the project wasn't a good idea, but because it wasn't sold to people effectively. Right? So the big cause, the defining that, communicating that, and finally, the most important part is showing people how valuable they are to that cause. Right? You know, I remember when I was a young man, we're having a conference on campus. I was just turning, I hadn't even yet entered the university. I might have been the year I entered the university. But we're using the undercraft of, I don't know if you, right? And the banner, we need to put the banner, the wall, the area is somewhat, has a kind of a belly, if you will, and we're to put the banner inside that belly, all right? We didn't have a stand that we have these days. And I found a way of doing it. And a couple months later, another group was having another conference, and my warden called me and said that I'm to put the banner up for them. So that's such a good thing, that you are good at something, and people believe in you. Think of what it means for a young person to be saying that. Jennifer, Joan, John, I really admire how well you did that thing yesterday. Could you help these people? Could you work on it for me tomorrow? Helping people to see their role in the bigger picture, their role in the organization.
That's wonderful.
It inspires. So there's a connection between influence and inspiration.
And it keeps those employees loyal to you.
Absolutely.
So they are less likely, you know, you have some workplaces that have a high turnover rate. People just aren't content, they're always leaving. It helps to keep those employees happy and there.
Without a doubt, without a doubt.
Because that turnover can be a problem. So you invest in training somebody and then leave and go somewhere else.
Right, yes. So all that skill is gone, all that experience is gone, and the money that you put in it.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So we have to check out your books, Dr. Thompson. I'm going to put the links in the description below. Do you have them available online?
They are all online, yes. Okay. They're all online.
And now for our giveaway question. What is meant by alternative thinking as a language of leadership? Answer over on EXIM Bank's Instagram page at EXIM Bank JA, and you can win a lovely prize. But before we go, here's a recap of Dr. Thompson's main points.
Leaders should practice alternative thinking. Having the courage to go where others have not gone is important for a leader. Great leaders rely less on power and more on influence to produce results. There are 3 paths to influence: helping others to see the big cause, communicating, and showing them that they're valuable.
Entrepreneurial leaders succeed by taking a team-minded approach to their interactions with colleagues. Dr. Thompson has given us so many gems on how you, the business owner and leader, can do so. That's it for this episode of Money Moves JA, brought to you in partnership with EXIM Bank's Business Advisory Service, giving you the tools to grow your business. Visit EXIM Bank's website, eximbankja.com. I'm Kalila Reynolds. Stay safe.
Let's get this money.